That's not even a good opening bit. I mean, that's not a good opening bit. That's fine. We don't need an opening bit. Who needs opening bits? We're a show. When we talk about music, we can just get to the point sometimes. We don't need to just like have a whole thing where we're like for like 2 minutes at the start of every video. We can just go.
God, I love cereal bars.
No, now you're just rehashing old bits.
Shut up.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Music Box, a show where I, Bimler, enjoyer of music, show an album to my good friend Pyrine.
Aye, that's me, Pyrine. That's really all I had to say.
Keeping it concise. Okay, all right.
Not everything needs to be like 5 minutes.
No, it's okay.
Like,
hey, I'm taking my wins as they come. Okay, it's fine. We can have a concise, opening.
Is me
here.
doing a bit a loss?
I would never say that.
You just implied it.
No.
I don't even remember that.
And after a week of listening, we meet up and discuss. This episode, we are covering the highly anticipated, there's a lot of those recently, the highly anticipated new Bon Iver album, SABLE, fABLE. A record 5 or 6 years in the making at this point. Genuinely, like, a big moment for him in terms of what it does for his sound, in terms of it being the first in a long time, the lack of a subsequent tour, and kind of symbolically what it represents within Bon Iver and his discography. A very significant album. But above all, one that I really enjoy. I alluded to it being my album of the year in the last video, I believe. I actually forget if I cut that part out. But it is my current album of the year. And I've been tossing this episode around in my brain for a few now, since basically I got into the record. But Mr. Pyrine, introduce us to your relationship on this with this record. Not on this record. With this record.
I didn't really know what to think when going in. I had never even heard Bon Iver. It's another one of those, because I'm stupid and I don't know things.
That's not true.
To say that I was kind of floored by it would, I think, be a bit of an understatement. I was like, is this going to be the album of the year going into it? About halfway through, I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. To be fair, right now, at least to me, there's not a lot of competition.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot to put it up against, but I think it's going to take something very strong to beat this, because this album is incredible. I think it's amazing.
I mean, there is some good competition. You've got the new Tremonti. You've got the new Black Country New Road. The new car seat headrest. So like you've got competition, but yeah, I mean I've got more personally. There's been quite a few records that have come out this year that I've quite enjoyed. To tack onto that, the new Panchico's been great. Maybe not as much as some of those other records, but I did quite enjoy the new Tom York and Mark Pritchard record, which you've also heard. The Jane Remover was pretty good. There's a couple other. The new Squid was pretty great, but above all, I prefer this record. And I'm really glad to hear that you do too. Even if maybe you don't have as much competition as I do, you got some of my best in your competition. And the fact that SABLE fABLE triumphs is, I think, a testament to its quality.
Well, here's the thing. I think probably the two biggest contenders, at least right now, is going to be Forever How Long and The End Will Show Us How. I wouldn't put The End Will Show Us How up there only because I just think this album has much more substance than it.
Fair.
I said it before. I think Tremonti is very much just like it is, in my opinion, candy in like the form of music.
It is.
You can't really live off it, but you can enjoy it.
Yeah. Sometimes they give me more, and I quite like it. Like I think that title track of that record. I'm not gonna go on a tangent, but I generally agree. Yeah.
And I think compared to that, I would say if we're gonna compare it to foods, I think this album is like a good soup. Like a good broth, something like that.
What is it with the food metaphors, man? We started with the trail mix in the last episode, now we're soup.
I don't know. I think it's a good way to, like, put it into a mental picture. I think comparing it to food is something that everyone can understand.
Yeah. People are going to be thinking you're like 400 pounds watching this show. They'll be like, this guy just talks about food all the time.
I mean, I do eat a lot. That's not a lie. I bought food on the way here. I have like half a sandwich on my desk next to me. I was like, I might need this because I'm going to be here for like an hour, so I'm going to just calm down on something. But that's not the point. The food isn't the point. The point is the album, Bimler.
True. Sorry, forgive me. Yeah.
It's okay.
I see what you mean. Although I would almost disagree, mainly because of purely the structure of the record, I think, is what makes me disagree. Specifically, the way that it is SABLE, fABLE. For context, for those who don't know, although I feel like most who know Bon Iver and this record are familiar with the fact that SABLE was its own EP about a year ago, before this album came out in full, which is only the tracks in all caps, only the songs, Things Behind Things Behind Things, Speyside, and Award Season. And that was its own project, separate from the rest of the album for quite a bit. But that EP is very tonally different from what comes after in fABLE, which is what we got quite recently, and completes the album. And I think that's really cool. It's one of my favorite parts of the record, is symbolically what that represents and all that. So saying it's a soup, I don't know. I'd almost say...
What would you think would be better?
Because it's like a proper like entree and a side in a way. There's separation there for me, but it all works together very well. I don't know what a musical equivalent of that, or a food equivalent of that would be. I'm probably gonna come up with it, and I'll hate myself. It's like cookies and milk. That's a good one. It's like cookies and milk.
That is a good one. That is a good one.
Yeah. It's like SABLE is the milk. Honestly, on its own, I wouldn't have probably been that crazy about it if I had just heard SABLE. I would have been like, these are some really good songs. I love Things Behind Things Behind Things. Speyside's a really sweet and solemn, and Award Season can kind of rip me apart. But it's not something I would be saying as like, this is my favorite project of the year. But tack it with some cookies. You throw fABLE on there, and fABLE's is really good on its own as well. But you put them together, and they enhance each other. And I think that speaks a lot to the two halves, if you will, of this album. Yeah.
I'm inclined to agree. For the most part, I think like the start is good. It's very much folksy music.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of energy. There's not a lot like going on, but what is there is very, very solid. Yeah. I quite enjoy it. I'm obviously I'm a big fan of Things Behind Things and Award Season, as well as, the 12-second dial tone. I want to bring that up because that is the de facto least favorite track on the record because it's just the tone.
Well, yeah, I feel like, yeah, it is. That's just the default. I don't count it as a song on the record.
But it is a song on the record.
Whatever.
It is its own independent thing.
Whatever.
My point is that I agree. I think you can listen to both. It's disc 1 and disc 2, basically. You can listen to either of them and find a lot of enjoyment out of it, but I don't think you feel like the full picture without experiencing them both on their own. They're both good. Together, it's just an enhancement. It's because they tie together really well, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
There is a lot of connection between them. Oh god, I choked on nothing for a second. I am sorry. That being said, disc 2 is where you actually get into the substance, in my opinion, where you actually get into the good stuff. Yeah. That really turned my brain. You know what I mean? Because I think for its folk, like that this one is mostly folk music. I think it's mostly enjoyable. Like, not mostly. It's entirely enjoyable because folk music is really hard to not like. In fact, I dare say, if you're a person that really doesn't like folk music, I kind of think you're a bit of a stiff. Like, loosen up a bit. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, it's nice. I will say, what's weird is when I very first listened to this album, I think I preferred SABLE. Because I liked the more darker writing and tone that it had. Which I think it's perfectly represented in the album covers, which I could talk about. SABLE's is the inverse of fABLE's. It is the darkness with some light in its core, whereas fABLE is mostly light with a slight bit of bittersweetness to it. And I preferred SABLE tonally when I first listened to the record. But I think once I really delved into what it was going for as an album, and the message it was sending and the intention behind it. And also, as the album grew on me, fABLE is my preferred half now, pretty easily. I think it's a testament to the album's concept, which I kind of want to dive into a little bit. It's not really a breakup album as much as it is a sort of like break album in a way at times, especially with
not a breakup, a breakdown.
No breaking down. I don't think you break down on this record, except maybe at the end of award season. That kind of
Break bad.
No Breaking Bad.
Jesse.
No. I don't know. I don't even know if I call it a break album. There's definitely something ending or some relationship being tried throughout this record, especially throughout the fABLE portion of it. If you listen to a song like If Only I Could Wait, or There's a Rhythm, Everything is Peaceful Love. The songs all have a very uplifting tone to them, but if you read into the lyrics, you can see like, oh yeah, like something is being tested here. Obviously, like there's the and now now I think you need some space on There's a Rhythm. The whole entirety of If Only I Could Wait being like this impatience, this desire not being reciprocated entirely and needing to show patience and restraint. Or on the song Everything is Peaceful Love, where a lot of the lyrical changes throughout the choruses highlight a sort of strain within the relationship or a uncertainty in moving forward. And how am I to know that someday you may change some way? I couldn't rightly say, which I think is pretty cool. But generally, despite that, what I like about the record is its persisting hope throughout all of it. There's a sense of optimism. There's a sense of genuine compassion, which I think is great. It's really good.
Take a drink.
Drinking game. Every time they say it's really good, take a shot.
You'll drop dead by minute 5.
Yeah, I was just gonna fucking say that. Yeah, what do you think of that? About the album's concept and its tone?
I quite love the concept. I'll admit, as is well known, I'm not always like in it for conceptuality when it comes to music. I like seeing what's there and interpolating it on my own way. But I honestly got the message pretty clearly. I feel like this album is very clear with its intentions, and I actually quite appreciate that because it lets me engage with it more. To me, it's like this album is almost like a relationship in test, where basically, you know when you know someone and sometimes they might just have habits and things that just really bother you and you're unsure, it's like, should I look past that just because people have flaws with them, people have things that, you know, they're only human, or should I, like, is that like an indicative of like a bigger thing? Is that something that I should be questioning and worried about? And I feel like this album kind of jumps around with that idea a lot, especially in both halves particularly, but again, this too is kind of where it really gets into that, where it's like this person, it doesn't have to be someone that, you know, you're particularly like in a romantic relationship with. It could be anyone. It could be like a family member, it could be like a friend. It's someone that basically you're questioning your relationship with because there are things about them that you clearly like. There are things that you clearly love that makes you not want to just throw it all away, but there are also things that keep occurring, keep persisting, that keep getting under your skin, that are bringing up those doubts, those questions. And this whole album is basically like the protagonist or whatever trying to figure out what to do. And honestly, I like that because there's a lot of interpretation and gray area in that. Because the hope might be in the case where is he going to finally realize that he needs to get out of this relationship because it's bad? Or is it going to be maybe he'll realize that people are just like that. And sometimes you just have to accept people for the mistakes and work through them with them instead of just, you know, brick walling them. And I really enjoy that. I think it gives the album a lot more appeal to a wider audience when you kind of give albums that sense of personality. I was really impressed with it, and I think that helps me with my enjoyment of the album, because obviously the instrumentation and composition is very, very good. Is a very, very beautiful. It is very, very beautiful. It has like a lot of bloom. It has a lot of just hope mixed into it with a kind of a little tinge of sadness on it, which I enjoy. Mixing it together, I think gives the album so much substance to really enjoy upon multiple listens. I kept going back to it every time I re-listened to the album, and I was like, am I going to really enjoy this as much as I did the first time? Or was I kind of like blinded by it? And every time I was like, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Yep.
it kept holding up every time, both disc 1 and disc 2, which I'm really impressed on. That doesn't always happen for me, so I was very, very impressed with that. Particularly, I think the last 3 songs are just straight up like amazing. They blow me away every single time I listen to them because they are so good. If Only I Could Wait, There's a Rhythm, and Au Revoir.
Yeah.
So good.
That's probably the best part of the album, I think, in terms of just like a 3-track run. That is probably my favorite. It's either that or it's award season Short Story and Everything Is Peaceful Love for me, which I want to talk about Short Story in its own right. I've neglected to mention it thus far. But in terms of the ending 3, yeah, I already kind of talked about If Only I Could Wait. That song is gorgeous. The work on that, the way that Bon Iver and his feature, Danielle Haim, I think, work together on that song is just like unparalleled. Like they have such a good vocal chemistry, and the way that they carry each other towards the end of that song is just hypnotic. I absolutely adore it. It is a strong contender for my favorite song on the whole record, which I know is a pretty popular pick, and for good reason. There's a Rhythm I also quite like. I don't know if I'd sing as high praises as If Only I Could Wait, but I do quite enjoy it, and it is still up there for me. It really wraps up the record in a really nice bow. It feels very content. It feels final. It feels relaxed. I jumped.
He was so happy. He was so excited that he had to just go,
There's a rhythm! And it also directly acknowledges some of the themes of the record, like I said, with the aforementioned, and now I think you need some space. That bit, and it kind of leaves you off where if there are characters in this narrative, there aren't, but where those people are at, where the album is standing in its sort of exploration of its own themes. And I think it's a nice, emotional, sweet send-off to Au Revoir, which is straight up just one of my favorite instrumental tracks ever now. There's something so simply heart-wrenching and beautiful about it. It's mostly just a piano track, but it just feels so... It's so goddamn pretty. I don't really know how else to say it. And what it represents for the record, I mean, Au Revoir is goodbye in French. And I think it shares a very content feeling with There's a Rhythm. And I think just leaves everything so perfect. And you really feel like this album, though it was tumultuous at times, especially in disc 1, and there were bits and pieces that you struggled with throughout its runtime, you're at the end of it, and it just feels it feels amazing. I don't really know what else to say. It's such a powerful, positive feeling.
No, you basically, you said exactly what I was thinking. If we want to talk about something else, though, something else that very much impressed me, I love the lyrics to this album.
Yes.
There is not a track that doesn't have at least a few banger lines. Let's be real.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think so. In terms of my lyrical favorites, I quite like... Well, I mentioned Walk Home before as a favorite. Or maybe I mentioned it as a favorite. Maybe I just mentioned it. But Walk Home is one of my favorites. And it's very simply great lyrically. I love just the way that it's delivered on the chorus of the lines. The whole like, we don't need no window curtains, and you can let the light pour in, and you can shed your earthly burdens. Of this I am certain of, you was made for me. I love that. It's really, it's probably the sweetest song on the record. God, I feel like I'm getting a big hug from Bon Iver when I listen to it.
I gotta agree. My biggest gripe about Walk Home is the Crazy Frog voice.
No, I explain why I like this when we listen to it. That sample, I feel like, you either love it or you hate it. I love it.
I don't. Here's the thing. It's too silly. That's the problem when you do something silly. It immediately you're building this beautiful tapestry of a scene, everything that's done so far, and then you get Crazy Frogged, and I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that?
Crazy Frog. It's just pitched up, bro.
Well, Crazy Frog was pitched up too.
He didn't speak English. Whatever. I like it.
Why are we talking about Crazy Frog for so long? The point is the voice. I
explained why I liked it when we listened to it, and I stand by it quite strongly. I think it actually adds a very perfect sort of awkward imperfection to the song, which feels very like true to the feelings it's expressing. It's a very tender song. It's a very sweet song, and that's not always the most put together thing. It's not always the most like formal and yes. There's a charm to it. I like it. I didn't really care for it when I first heard it, but I quite like it now. I think it's grown on me a lot.
I think that actually brings up an interesting point. You mentioned the term awkward imperfection. In the past, when we've listened to music, that term has come up before for both of us. I feel like in almost a different context. I think you and I have a good love, but a different interpretation of what awkward imperfection can be, which I think is interesting. We might talk about it at the show at some point. One of my favorite albums that has a lot of this is an album called Wet Dream by Willie Rodriguez Was Taken. One of my favorite ever made, by the way. That has a lot of the awkwardness that I really like, but I remember the first time you listened to a bit of it, you didn't really care for it for the exact reason that I liked it. And here it's like the opposite.
Yeah.
So I wonder why that is. I mean, you just explained it.
Yeah.
And I explained my point, but I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. But yeah, Walk Home is definitely interesting because it has that weirdness, which I don't think a lot of other tracks. I mean, Day One definitely does. The sample throughout Day One is wacky. I quite like it. It gives the track a lot of character and a sort of extra rhythm to it, which I guess we could talk about Day One. I think I told this to you when we listened to it. If I had to pick a least favorite, it's Day One, but I still quite like Day One. I think it's really great. A lot of the features on that song, knock it out of the park. I love Dijon on it. The main instrumental line, the manipulated vocal sample is an earworm. It gets stuck on me quite a bit. I think it's pretty great. Take another drink.
It's got that church choir too.
True.
And I love that. I loved it in I Didn't Mean to Haunt You when they did that bit here. They did it again, and I just adore that. That to me adds so much soul to it. You know what I mean? Just so much.
Yeah.
Oh, just hits really hard. And I enjoy it. Like I'll say, if I had to pick a least favorite, it might be Day One too. But that does not mean it's bad.
Yeah.
It does not by any means mean it is. It is super inferior to anything else.
Yeah.
And I just want to point that out.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's another reason I think it's my favorite of the year. That's a testament to just how fucking consistent this album is. Yep. Like every other album that's competed with it this year, there's a couple tracks that I'm like neither here nor there on. Like even the last episode, the Car Seat album, right? I like tracks like Lady Gay, approximately. I like tracks like Equals and Devereaux, but they don't hold up to the album's best. Or Forever How Long, right? I'm not crazy about songs like Besties or
Bestie Girl.
Socks, right? But they're good, but they don't hold up to the album's best. Here, Day One has enough going on and is good enough that it sticks out, and I feel like I wouldn't change it. It's my least favorite song on the album, and I don't really have any strong complaints about it.
That's another thing. You just brought up a really good point. Another thing that I really like this album does is how distinct basically every single song in it is. I did not get any of these songs confused after like the third listen. I was able to distinguish each and every one of them because each one of them does something interesting and distinct. Which God, I appreciate. Sometimes there are just albums out there they have tracks that might as well be the same thing, or tracks that are 20 minutes long that might as well be 3 songs. Car Seat Had Rest. But my point is that I really, really like them. It helps you almost pick out if you're really, I'm in the mood for something like this, that, or this. You can pick something out, and they all have names that make sense. So you can immediately read them and be like, man, you want to do Day One? I know exactly what that one is. That's the church choir one because that's got the church choir. So I know that one.
I know
it helps me as a person that doesn't always do good at remembering things.
Mm-hmm. Even the SABLE tracks, which I am quite pleasantly surprised on, because SABLE is very much primarily acoustic guitar with very light accentuation in other ways. Speyside having the slightest bit of string and basically nothing else. Things behind things behind things. There's that electric drum tapping throughout the song that kind of provides the flow with some synth and strings as well. And awards season with the horns and the piano. But they all sound incredibly distinct. You'd never get any of them confused, even though they're all very, very similar. I quite like how they distinguish themselves from each other, both tonally and instrumentally. But in terms of fABLE, that brings me to another album's point. This shit slaps. This album's just, it's really fun sometimes.
Yeah, it is. This is true. You could theoretically listen to like the first disc in a different context. It's like, okay, I just need something more chill. But I'll tell you, I'll say it again. I struggle to think, like, if you were going to listen to disc 2, if you're going to listen to fABLE, I feel like there's a lot to like for most everyone.
Yeah.
You might not like every single track, but there's a lot of appeal. It's very, very fun. It's got a lot of, things
it's
going
puppy.
on with its minutia.
It's rhythm and blues. It's got that vibe. It's nice.
God, the vibes. It does have such an all-pervading vibe. There is a blanket being cast by Bon Iver, basically over you throughout the entire album. Yeah. And it is very, very comforting. There's not like an album that immediately springs to mind that's like it, to me at least.
Yeah, and there are some tracks that feel very upbeat and fun too. I going back again to Everything Is Peaceful Love, that song very much kind of makes you feel like that one scene of the Joker walking down the stairs, being all like, woo, vibing out, or From, which is a super upbeat and just a very rhythmic song. I said upbeat. I keep using the word upbeat, but up tempo. We'll change it.
Yeah, it's got a canter to it that kind of sucks fun. You in every time.
Or I'll Be There, which is funky as fuck. That song. That song's very much more sparse in its rhythm, but I think it emphasizes each beat a lot more. I quite like it. That that is earworm. The bass is so slappy on it. It's got such a unique and like funky energy. It's funky. I don't know how else to describe it.
You know what I think it is?
What?
And it probably makes sense considering that you said this album's been like in production for years and years and years. I think this album and all of its tracks, all of its songs have a very clear, distinct identity. Each of them knows what they need to be. Each of them knows what they need to accomplish, and they do it very, very well. Yeah. Which, good, they should be if they're going to be in, development for that long. But I honestly think that has a lot to experience. I'm going to pick on Radiohead real quick right here. I love Radiohead, but I'm going to pick on Amnesiac real quick because that was a bit of an issue for me. Mm-hmm. Had a lot of ideas, but nothing was solidified. It was just ideas being thrown out there. This is what it needs to be. Yeah. Everything is in its. You could dare say everything is in its right place.
What? Is that a reference? I don't understand that. I hate Radiohead, but. Yeah, no. I think the track that best accomplishes its set out purpose, though. And it's one that we just haven't mentioned yet, I don't think, and it is probably my favorite on the album. But no, we mentioned it once. Short Story. It is the transitional track between SABLE and thus the introduction into fABLE. And it is short, as the title would imply. It is remarkable. The way the song carries on from award season, brings in some new little electronic sounds, and then just starts to swell onto you, painting vivid images with the lyrics. And then once everything finally drops off, you get the lines, time heals, and then it repeats. You will never be complete. And though the strain and thirst are sweet, you have not yet gone too deep. Very short lyrical passage, but oh my god. At the right time, that song will destroy me. It is so potent, and I think perfectly brings you into fABLE from SABLE. It doesn't make it feel like a vibe whiplash, because it is simply the turning of the lens. It is simply the shifting of perspective. You are now no longer focusing on the dark. You are moving towards the light. And it's fucking perfect. I love Short Story. It's so good. It's really good. But no, jokes aside, like genuinely, that song is magical. It's probably my favorite on the album.
Here's the thing. Here's the problem with me is that I completely agree. Short Story is just so amazingly good.
Yeah.
I don't even have anything to add. You just said that. But I don't know what my favorite track is because that's definitely a contender.
Yeah.
That is definitely a contender.
There's a lot of choices.
I'm also tempted for If Only I Could Wait, to be honest. That's another tempting target. It's hard for me to choose. So I'm just going to leave it up there and say both of them. Yeah. As well as There's a Rhythm. I still really like There's a Rhythm. I think that has a lot of very fun parts as well.
Yeah. I mean...
I don't know. I feel like choosing one... It's like picking between your children, Bimler. I can't do that.
I hate children.
What's wrong with you? You were a child once.
I know, and I hated that. I hate child me. Get with the
This
program.
sounds like insecurity.
What are you talking about? I'm the most secure person on the planet. Anyway, do you want to go listen to my favorite album, In Rainbows by Radiohead? No. But what was I going to say? Yeah, I kind of said it when we were talking about day one. I have a very similar situation because, like, I say Short Story is my favorite. And there's so many close contenders. Even just like picking a favorite from SABLE is hard. Like, I think when I first listened to it was very solidly things behind things. But recently, I've been more inclined towards Speyside. I really like that song, and it's been like I've been connecting with it a lot more and more, and I probably like it more. But then again, awards season gives me such a volatile emotional response every time I listen to it. It hits me right in the heart, even more than the first two do. So it's like everything has such so much appeal in different ways, and I don't know which ones are my favorite. What am I hearing?
Yeah, that's the last thing. If it's not obvious by now, we both have a very clear reason to resonate and relate to this album.
Yeah. No, that's pretty real.
I also don't know what you're hearing, but I was hearing it too. It sounds like there's a ghost.
No, it's my brother. He was just making weird noises.
Oh, so it is a ghost.
Well, I mean, yeah, I feel like anybody can connect with this level, or with this level. I think anybody can connect with this album to
I agree.
an extent, at the very least, because its themes are very simple, and I think that's to its strength. It's about a tumultuous relationship. It's about love. It's about all that stuff. It's not exploring too much new ground in terms of themes, but I think the way it explores it is what makes this album so interesting to me.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore it. I'm trying to think if there's any tracks we haven't really gone over by now, and I don't think we've missed any. We really jumped around the record, but
I mean, to be fair, I'll say there's, in my opinion, not like a whole lot to say about this record because it mostly speaks for itself. It does a lot of its own talking for it, and you kind of understand what you're getting as soon as you pick it up. Yeah. I think it's one of those things where if you elaborate on it more, take away a bit of the magic. So I think honestly we're good.
Well, there's one more. Actually, I thought about it. There's one more thing I want to say, and it is simply the approach with SABLE and fABLE and what Bon Iver was trying to get across with each side of the record. And it's that we kind of talked about what fABLE's about. So SABLE is interesting because it is more similar to older Bon Iver music. We're talking his debut. We're talking Bon Iver. It feels much more downtrodden, and it feels much more in line with his typical songwriting. When Bon Iver made this album, he went into it with a different approach because he felt like he was squeezing himself dry for his albums, for his releases. He was hurting himself to make music, and to make things that people would like. And he didn't want to do that this time. This is an album Bon Iver made for himself. And I think that adds a lot for me. Because you can really tell. It's really obvious. Even the darker tracks in SABLE, especially the song Speyside, acknowledge their existence as like almost we use this term in reference to something the Spotify bio for Bon Iver says, a controlled burn. It is the last bit of that sort of songwriting that he wanted to do and get through and say, hey, this is what, this is where I'm coming from. But we're not going to stay there. But yeah, overall, it's really nice to see Bon Iver, Mr. Justin Vernon, make an album for himself, and have it resonate so strongly with me and with the Pyrine here, although I won't speak too much for him. Like I said, this is my album of the year. I adore it. I don't know how much I'd even want to change about it. I'm genuinely feeling a 95. I love it. I love it to death. And it got me into Bon Iver. I'm a new fan. Maybe that affected my enjoyment of it. People who know Bon Iver more and have listened to them before this, tell us your thoughts. But yeah, that's all I really got to say.
Ditto.
What,
yeah, I'd give it a 95 too.
Yay!
That's crazy. I wrote on the script before I did this, and I was like, "Yeah, this is a 95." So it's crazy we actually had the same thing. This resonated with me a lot. I would also argue it's currently my album of the year. I think out of the ones we've talked so far for this little roundabout, might be my favorite. Here's the thing. Is that I think this is album of the year, but I'm still like in my head deciding on if this is my favorite out of the 10 we're doing so far.
Yeah,
because it might.
It's not mine. Because it's not. I mean, you know which one mine is.
Because we got some good contenders. But even compared to that, we had some good competition. Like, we've done Quadeca, and I'm considering that to be right now like some pretty solid competition at the moment. Yeah, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that kind of ends up. But 95, pretty good. It's really good.
Take another drink. One more for the road. In the next video, though we are not doing a Bon Iver album for the next one, we will be doing more in the very near future, so stay tuned. But in the next episode, we will be doing this record right here.
That one.
Another new one that came out this year, and one that I've given you a taste of, but I want more of your thoughts on it, as it's another pretty strong contender for one of my favorites. I think it might even outmatch the new Car Seat for me. It'll be quite interesting. But yeah, we will see you guys then. Bye.
Oh shit, we gotta kill the viewer. It's really good. 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 It's really good.
Car keys.
Music Box does not support the active driving drunk. We advocate for it.
Yeah.
And recording.